Okay, here we are. We're in the future, 2025. It's a
We're
new
in the
year.
future.
It's a new year. We're here in this episode. We're going to talk about goal setting and planning. Kind of give you a manhood map for 2025 playbook. First, I'll apologize to anybody listening. I have a guy out in my front yard ripping it apart with a tractor right now. We're doing some landscaping stuff, and to any viewers out there, I cut my neck training jiu-jitsu the other day, so a little rough around my house right now, but I swear things are going well thus far in the new year.
I like that subtle masculinity flex. Like, I know I'm not the one running the shovel in the yard on this podcast, but I did cut my neck. I did cut my neck playing jujitsu.
I'm paying a guy to do that, but I'm still badly, I swear. It's from jiu-jitsu, bro. Do you train? Do you lift?
Do you even lift, bro?
Good catch, man. Yeah, subtle flex right off the bat. Okay, 2025. Let's talk about goal setting and planning. How did you approach this year? What does your goal setting and yearly planning process look like? But let's start with why is it important for anybody who's not doing that. I didn't do it for many years, and a couple of my friends were like, "Man, the years where I did it, I actually hit a lot of my goals and thrived. The years where I didn't plan, I usually didn't hit my goals, and I had a tough year." It's interesting. There is a correlation there. And since doing it, I've noticed the same thing. So yeah, I'd love to hear how you think about yearly planning and what your process looks like, and then I'm happy to share mine.
Yeah. I would say that my natural proclivity is not to plan. I actually don't like planning. This might sound strange though, because what I really love to do is to vision something. And then once I've decided I'm doing something, I love the going way too nerdy on the logistical details and putting it all together and all the puzzle pieces. I love that, So you'd think I'd like planning, but it's just not a natural thing for me to do. That said, planning is the in between, the bigger vision in my mind and the actual doing. And I think for me, what I've experienced is when I plan things, not only do I accomplish more, but I'm more aware of what I've accomplished. It's the starting of measurement, and that awareness is empowering in a lot of ways. You get a lot of more momentum when you see that, oh, I said I was going to do this, and then I did it, or it exceeded my expectations, or I did it and it didn't turn out how I wanted, but here's the other thing that came up as a result because I planned this. That's really helpful.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I have a natural resistance to planning too. It sounds like you don't mind the battle plan once you have a direction, but it's the sitting down and actual goal setting. What are my goals this year? I'm going to rank them. That stuff you don't like doing. It's more the tactical strategizing.
Yeah, I feel like strategy and tactics is fun planning. Visioning, big vision, macro, sure. That in between, that my goal is this to this. It's hard. I find it hard to get excited about that. It kind of exhausts me. That being said, there's a few things that I even coach towards in my coaching practice. For every 10 minutes that you spend planning something, you save an hour in implementation. And that has been my experience. With my team, if we sit down, I had an AGM in November. We sit down, we recap the last year, then we go through planning out what we're going to do for the next year. We prioritize it, et cetera, et cetera. I just get to brain dump all my stuff, and my team takes it and organizes it better. So that part for me works well. We've been doing that for years, but in the beginning, when we did that less efficiently or not as much, or didn't have the whole team doing it, it's like you have this perpetual feeling of flying by the seat of your pants in business. Versus now, even a quarter in, my ops manager can just pull us back on track. Someone's like, oh, maybe we should do this thing. We're like, nope, goal is this. We're working towards this. If we do that, that means we're sacrificing time, money, energy, effort, whatever. So either this goal isn't the goal anymore, or we can't do that. Doesn't matter if it's a good idea or not. So it clarifies things.
It really does, yeah. And that's why I find benefit into it as well. I'm not a details person or a planning person. I'm more impulsive. I'm a quick start in the Colby Index, which is a test for entrepreneurship and how you take action. I'm 8.5 on the quick start. So I'm no follow through. I'm all just like angsty, quick action, and I start a lot of things, but then I get lost. I get caught up in the weeds, and I forget where we're headed, and then that creates stress and overwhelm and anxiety. And so I find that defining yearly goals and quarterly goals actually reduces that. It makes it less overwhelming, because in the moment when I'm feeling that overwhelm or anxiety, I'm like, oh, right, these 3 goals that I have literally on my desk, like here's my goals for the year right here, and so I can refer to it. I do find it beneficial despite my resistance to it.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think despite my resistance, once we set some clear goals, and it's a trickle down. So there's like the vision for what we're trying to do and the macro goal, and then there's like we would call them our pillars. Pillar goals are what needs to happen. It's like a philosophy. Like, if these were true, would we accomplish this other goal? Yes or no? If we believe yes, then that's what we need to do. And then that's what I can come back to. When I start losing sight of what I'm trying to do, I'm like, why are we even doing this? I'm still feeling like we're not. I'm like, wait a minute. We're doing this because do I still believe if this is accomplished, it's going to get us to this place? Yes or no? Yes. Is this the most impactful thing I can do towards that? Yes. This is all I need to do.
Totally. Do you include your why in that? Because I found that really useful. Like, not only do I state my goal for the year, but I write down why it's the number 1 thing or why it's the number 2 thing. And that's the part that I actually reflect back on, because when I'm in it, everything feels important. It's like, the wife is telling me I got to wash the dishes, and I want to go work on my surfing, and I got to work on some house stuff, and this thing broke, and it's like hard. Oh, that pizza looks nice. There's so many little decisions to make, and in the moment I find it hard to reflect back on that. And even if I can remember my goal, which number 1 for me is like physical vitality this year, it's like, why is that so important? That's really the most useful part to me. Reconnecting emotionally, reconnecting emotionally.
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly a good idea. All decisions, all buying decisions, I would say, in our training. But like, when I say buying, I mean like a decision to go through with something are made emotionally first, and then you back them up with logic. That's the way your brain works. So it makes sense. Yes, I do that. Probably not as powerfully as I could. Now I'm just thinking, as you're saying it, Sean, around some of the more detailed stuff. Like, why this specific thing? The bigger why, sure.
Totally.
Always.
Yeah.
What I do that's a slightly different version, but similar, would be... I'm not sure how I describe this. I guess the best description would be I write a thesis for the goal. Thesis, because it's thesis or hypothesis. I oscillate between those because it's like, it's what you're trying to prove. So here's the goal to get from X to Y. These are the 3 things that are going to get me there. And then each of those I'll write out the thesis of the reason why building this is going to accomplish this and equal this is. It's like just getting that full thought all put out. And it abides by these rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's to pull me back on track when I start losing sight. That's what I need. So it's not the emotional why so much as like, what are the rules? Like, what's the belief that I'm following, and what are the rules?
Interesting. Do you do it for personal as well? Do you set personal goals, or is it more work goals?
For me, I tend to do more work goals. It's funny that where I actually write it down. I always set personal goals, but I'm much less diligent about recording them properly.
Yeah, fair.
Which is interesting because I probably follow them more. Like in the beginning, my personal goals are easier to like start taking action towards. So even though my work goals might be more defined, I'm like, I don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm the opposite. I actually spend quite a bit of time on my personal goals. And then with work, I'm like, I feel like I'm always running at something already anyways. I'm like, yeah, we need to get more people in men's group. We need to get this platform, this app we've been working on done. I'm like, yeah, I just breeze through that 1, 2, 3. And then but I'll spend weeks on my personal goals, just like Yeah, I mean, I might as well share my process if you want to hear it, Josh.
Yeah, I'm really interested actually. I would just say that, yeah, I think we're maybe opposites that way, because
Yeah.
my personal goals tend to be not goals. They're like actions that I want to take or things that I want to do, but they're not a goal in such that a well-written goal, in my opinion, isn't always articulated as from X to Y, but it's like, as much as possible, a well-written goal is quantitative, not qualitative.
Interesting.
Even qualitative things, you can, if you get very creative, you can make them more quantitative. So
Yeah.
for me, like the goal workout, like that's not really a goal. That's an action.
Yeah.
So why do I want to work out? Like, what's the actual goal? Is it a weight?
Yeah.
Is it 6-pack abs? Is it this dope flex that I've got here? Like, what, what is it? That's the part that I don't usually define or write down.
Interesting. Do you think that holds you back from hitting those?
I don't know. Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, research says it does, but that doesn't mean I do it in my work either,
Right. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that it does, and in work, I've experienced definitely that it does. Like, if once you get to the moment where you're judging the goal success, if you can't definitively say yes or no, then the goal was set wrong.
Yeah, totally.
That's something I've learned over years. It's hard. It's hard, like, in the beginning to set a goal that okay, in 6 months when I test this, because I've written it like this is the correct test. That's hard to do.
It is very hard to do, yeah. But I think creating a tangible one's important. So for my personal goal of number 1 this year, physical vitality, I actually set my tangible goal as 177 pounds because that's like my fighting weight, And to get there, I'm going to have to do all the other things I need that are at the actual goals, which is I'll be energetic, I'll be playful and feeling light, I'll be strong because I do a lot of exercise. I'll have to eat whole foods and only 3 meals a day. I'll have to get to bed, get good sleep, and I'll have to work out like 6 days a week, So like those things will have to fall in line if I end up hitting that weight number. So I do find it useful to like give myself one guide post like that,
I'm just looking it up really quick, but there's a cool thing I saw online that was saying, like, if you can do this list of physical things, you're in the top 10% of men. Depending on your age bracket, and there's a way to age bracket it. This year, I haven't set the goal yet, but that's what I've been thinking about. Is like, in the past, coming out of hockey, especially at a higher level, I even had a residual effect for at least 5 to 10 years afterwards.
Yeah.
Like until I was 30. And even past then I was owning yoga studios and stuff. But whatever. At that point where it was like, at any moment in the crowd, I was definitely in the top 10% of physically fit people. Like, there was very seldom that I would be in an environment where I was not definitively in better shape than most people there, or couldn't do something physically, run harder, punch hard, do something, whatever,
Yeah.
And now I don't feel like that. I don't know if I am or not, but I don't feel like that.
I don't think either of us are right now.
Right. Like I think in the worst shape I've been in my life, but if we adjust for age and lifestyle and stuff like that, and then compare it to other people that I know, other people that I know that I'm not like in terribly poor shape either. And I don't like it. Like, I'm not in as good a shape as I know I could be.
No, so. You and I never want to be in the middle. We're not really.
No, that's boring.
The goal for us. So I'm the same boat. Like, I'm probably in the worst shape I've been in, but hopefully it changes this year. I'll share my process really quick. So in 2020, so I started with a 2024 review, and I love this process because it's really like I get maybe it's my own personality, or maybe other people experience this as well, but I will always feel like it was a shit year because I tend to focus on problems or what's not working. And so the first thing I do is go through the highs and the wins. And I'll literally just go through my photos on my phone, maybe look at my calendar, and then I start to add stuff up. And it ends up being this list of like 40 amazing things. And it could be simple things like just having a nice conversation with you, Josh, at one point that was really impactful, or it could be trips that we did, or it could be But I'll see these photos of this time we had this nice couple over for dinner, and then we watched the sunset, or all these different things. And looking back, I'm like, wow, what a year, like, wow, I did a lot this year, and that always sets up the process for the rest of the planning really well, I think, because otherwise I get too problem focused. And it's fun. And it only takes like a couple hours for me to go through photos and stuff, so it doesn't take that much time. And calendar. And then Katie and I will compare, and I'll forget a couple, and she'll forget a couple. Then I do a list of like the ways that I grew this year, stuff that I'm proud of. So like we made some changes to our social circle this year. I overcame some anxiety and depression regarding that. I've progressed as a surfer. Had some tough conversations with my family, did some plant medicines that helped me with things, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a list of 30 of those too. And I'm always amazed with how much I did there. Then getting towards the end of the 2024 review, areas of improvement, there's usually only 5 or 6 there. Like getting full night's sleeps. I haven't been doing that. My watch has been saying I'm getting 6 to 7 hours a night average. And then as a result, I'm grumpy with my partner and emotional at work and stuff. Eating too much junk food and high carbs. Continuing to focus on men's group and give it my all. Family stuff, bunch of other stuff. Where I'm stuck, there's like 3 or 4 notes here. And this is a key point because I reached out to Josh for help, actually, for anybody listening, which we'll circle back to in a minute. And who did I spend time with this year? Like to see how my social circle has evolved, because that was a big focus. And it was interesting because, in 2023, the people we're hanging out with here when we just moved here are completely different than 2024 was a transition year. And then 2025, it's like, wow, our kinds of people. And then lastly, I do my wheel of life, which is something I learned from Tony Robbins way back in the day, which is just you list out the different areas of life: finances, friendships, romantic partner. You draw these in a circle, like points: healthy habits, family or health, purpose, work, fun, spiritual, mental health, just all the areas of life you care about. And then you give yourself a score out of 10. And you can very quickly, and you give dots, like a 2 would be really close to the middle of the wheel, or an 8 would be farther out. And so you can very clearly see how well balanced your wheel is and where you need work. So like last year, I was a 2.5 on friendships. I was a 3 on fun, spiritual, and then a couple other low ones. And then this year, I those things are up a lot. Friendships are 7, mental health, spiritual stuff 6.5. So you can see year over year how you're progressing, how things are shifting based on your focus, which is really rewarding and encouraging to do this more, because you're like, wow, I laid out I identified that, I laid out the goal, I focused on it this year, and look at the improvement. And it's really easy to forget that a year later, where you were, right? So I review the year like that. This only takes a couple of hours, like I said. It's not a lot of stuff. And then based on that, in particular the lessons learned and where I'm stuck and areas of improvement, then I list out my goals. So 2025 goals, it's like physical vitality. That's one that still nags me. I put my physical goal of 177 pounds, and then I kind of get through the process. And I list out the process items: food, sleep, wake up and work out. And I actually came up with a plan. Second one, mental game, make my mind an ally. These ones are tough because they're the vitality as well, so intangible. And then some financial goals and stuff like that. And then I laid out like a daily schedule to support that, and a weekly schedule. And this all sounds fairly rigid, but this took like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours total. And then I'm set up for the year, and I've got my plan. And I literally wrote it out. You can print it out. It's got like, I got my goals on one side, my 3 main goals, and then a 4th fun one, surfing. And then I have my sort of rough, what I'd like to shoot for with my days to be able to achieve that. If I did this day every day for the most part, then I would hit those goals. And then now I don't have to think about it. And then I have this sheet on my desk for the rest of the year. And then I refer back once a quarter just to see how I'm doing with them, to set more new quarterly goals. Like, I'm 200 pounds now. If I want to be 170 pounds by the end of the year, that means I need to lose 5 pounds a month or whatever that number is. So then 3 months from now, I need to be down to 182, and then I need to be down to 180, 175 at next quarter, and then et cetera, et cetera. And that's it. It's not that complex. Might sound a little more thorough than anybody else has ever done that's listening, but it's I've taken a lot of like courses around this and talked to a lot of people about it, and this is what the system that I've distilled it down to over the years.
I love it.
Yeah. Why?
A couple things came to mind. I think one, the things that you were mentioning that are like, they're harder to know. The Tony Robbins thing is an example of like taking something qualitative and make it quantitative. So when in doubt, it's like you have to score things. Like, okay, as I am today, friendships, how do I feel about my male friendships out of 10? I'm just making this up on the spot. Like, I feel 5 out of 10. 2. And then in a year, like, right. Do I feel 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, But getting to see that, I think what's brilliant is what the description of like having done this for a few years and then you getting to see the progression and seeing like, where's my next area of focus? The other statement that comes to mind is the idea that we wildly overestimate what we can do in 1 quarter or 1 year and wildly underestimate what we can accomplish in 5.
Yeah.
And 5 even seems long to me. I would say like
3.
I always overestimate what I can do in 1 or 2 quarters and underestimate what happens in a year.
No, yeah. Yeah, this is proof of that.
Yeah.
And every year I feel that way without fail.
Yeah.
Mind you, we're fairly ambitious people, Josh. So maybe for somebody listening, it might not be like that, but I would imagine it for most people, especially if you're here listening to this and you want to improve yourself, then and you're applying some of these things, then I imagine you would be like, "Wow, I actually did a lot this year."
Yeah, I was definitely taking stock at New Year's with a buddy. We're just sitting at a campfire on the beach and just asking each other a couple soft conversation questions about, takeaways from the year or whatever. And even just doing that, looking back, I was like, holy shit, like a lot has happened in the last year. Like a lot. I've gone through a lot of things have taken place. Even if I didn't do it as detailed as your description,
Yeah, you don't have to.
It's just it's so easy to lose sight of that, basically.
Yeah. And then create stories around that hold you back. So like Katie and I were feeling like this is a down year, and that like because the first half of it was kind of down emotionally because of the social circle stuff we were dealing with, and then but looking back at everything we did, it's like, yeah, we felt like it was a down year, a low year, a tough year. Like we didn't get out there that much, and then like we were just at home a lot and kind of talking about stuff a lot, and then like I look at the list and I'm like, whoa, this is a crazy year, So it is so easy to lose sight of that, and I think that's a natural human thing.
Yeah. You've kind of, this has been insinuated in our conversation already, but I think the other detail here, looking back, but also looking forward, that's important, is that in any category of your life, how you feel about it is what matters.
Great point.
What you actually did or didn't do, what you have or don't have, if you really sit with it, my experience in life has been like, it doesn't fucking matter. How you feel about it matters. I was even talking this morning with a therapist about like the human condition being, past me would look at stuff that I have and do now and be like, that's what I want. And now I'm here and I have it and I'm not satisfied with it, you know?
Yeah.
And part of me is like, I want to go back to past me that had nothing.
Yeah.
There's a weird thing that happens. But the point being, it's all about how you feel about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like some people look at my financial situation. We got a pretty nice house. The house has an Airbnb that does pretty well. Like long term, I think we're in a really good position, Katie and I. But we have some debt from the house, a bit of debt purchase a few years back, and a bit of debt because I haven't paid myself in men's group in like a year and a half because I've been putting all that money towards building an app. Common entrepreneur situation. But as a result, like debt has been increasing, not decreasing, and so I put 3 from my finances, and work purpose and work. I've been confused around some things with men's group and the direction and my identity with it and stuff, and so I put it as a 4 this year. And even though people would look at what I'm doing with it and be like, "Whoa, like you're killing it! You guys are the leader in your market," but it's not how it feels. So yeah, that's a great point, Josh. Make it about how it feels to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so here's another sort of methodology that spins off of what you're describing, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit more, but one of the things that I do, even with businesses, like we do this at my business summit every year, so we talk a lot about okay, you have this vision of the future. And even if it's not a specific goal, but even if it is, whatever. And then you write down, how do I feel? Like you future project, we call it. I future project to me in 3 years and I've accomplished this. Like, how do I feel about it? Right? And very often what comes out when you start describing the feeling is the realization that the thing that you set the goal to, I made this much money, having the money doesn't give you the feeling. It's the journey to accomplish creating that amount of money from the effort. That's what gives you the feeling. So then you'd say, okay, cool. If I feel like that and I've accomplished this future me, what does that person have as a habit? Like, what are the habits of how they behave for that to be true? And that's actually the daily goal that we start to set.
Interesting.
I can change my habitual behavior now. I can't change, do I have $80 million in my bank account today? But I can change my habits from being how I behave now to the future projected Josh who has that in their account and has done the work to get there through this modality of blah, 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 blah. How does that person behave? Oh, I can do that. Example being 170-pound Sean, who's ripped and does backflips on his surfboard. Right?
I already do, bro.
I already do. Right? Like, what does he do? Well, he surfs. He works out.
Yeah.
Probably 4 or 5 days a week. He eats healthy generally. Like on the spectrum of oscillation of eating healthy, it's like we're going to be on the side of eating healthy most of
It's got to be pretty healthy. Yeah.
Right. Like those things become obvious. And then so that becomes the actual goal to set in the now moment.
Yeah. And also ironically, if anybody who's achieved big goals will tell you that that's actually the main reward too. It's not the thing at the finish line. It's actually who you have to become and the things you have to overcome along the way. But it's true.
Yeah, I think all of the entrepreneurial gurus of our moment, the Alex Hormozy conversation and everything right now, they all say the same thing. Like, if you want to make a superhuman, do you make their life easy or hard? And like, you make it hard.
Yeah.
But the spin-off of that is, or not even the spin-off, I think the deeper, more important part in yoga philosophy, for example, is that the value of life is the journey itself. So like setting goals and having aim at something is important and having clarity of focus on that aim. But the achievement of the goal is not the important part. It's the journey towards it.
Interesting. But in an odd way, the goals help you actually enjoy that journey more, at least for me, because I can take my mind off of, on a daily or weekly timeline, I can take my mind off of, what do I have to do again? And instead that just keeps me in that direction, kind of like a nautical heading would for a ship or an airplane, Yeah.
Exactly. It's the compass. That's
compass,
exactly it. Yeah. The analogy that gets used often in some of the stuff I've been reading is the compass arrow. Like if you're heading north, like it's impossible to head straight perfectly north. Like you're always the wind blows you over here and a little bit there. Like you're going to go like this on the way. You just keep adjusting back to north if that's your heading. Whatever your heading is, you just keep adjusting back to it. So it's the focus of aim, but the action is here in adjusting the sails, steering the wheel. I don't have any sailing terms. The jib, whatever. Something about
All
a spinnaker. It's not just jib and spinnaker. And sorry, if you sail out there, you can pipe in and tell us how dumb we are.
Swab the poop deck. I don't even know what that means. Totally. And sailing is actually one of the best references I know, because if you're doing long distance sailing or any kind of nautical trip, it's like, you need a port you need that direction, right? But while you're working up the coast, if it's a long trip, you're going to hit storms, you're going to have to deal with tides, you're going to have to deal with other vessels, so you're going to have to go off course, and you're going to have to navigate those things independently. You're probably going to get caught up in those things mentally and emotionally, but you keep that same end destination in mind,
Yeah, totally. Just because we're on sailing.
Yes.
On my last sailing trip, that I was out, we were anchored, and I caught a bonita, a big, not that big, like a maybe 5-pound fish.
Yeah.
And I put it on a big hook and chucked it and let it swim in the water off the back of the boat when we were anchored, trying to catch something bigger. And so like hours went by and something chased it, and we weren't paying attention, and it swam under the boat and wrapped the line around the drive shaft of the boat. Oh, no. Luckily, we realized before we fired it up, because it was like really heavy braided line, so it would have fucked something up. But then now it's like nighttime and the water's pitch black and we're trying to leave. So I had to jump in the water and swim under the boat with like this little light someone was shining underneath with a knife to cut this fish, which is bleeding because something has bitten it, something big. Yeah. And like, we're way in the middle of nowhere. I'm absolutely sure it was a shark.
Yeah.
And you can only see like 3 feet in front of you, and it's pitch black. I was just like fucking, and I've got, I'm in fucking, I didn't even have board shorts. I was like in my underwear with like a little knife cutting this thing. Holy shit. Anyways.
Yeah. That's sailing. Well, I had a similar experience where we were out in some islands and our anchor slipped overnight. And in the morning, we woke up to the boats. We chartered these 2 boats for one of our men's group trips, and these 2 sailboats. And we were out there sailing and spearfishing and surfing. And in the middle of the night, one of the anchors slipped. So I woke up to the 2 boats bashing against each other. Oh. Luckily, I was sleeping on the top deck in a hammock under the stars, which is really nice. So I was one of the first people on the scene. And unfortunately, one of the guys to try to get us out of the situation hit the engine, so tried to move forward, and it wrapped one of the lines in it. And so, similar to you, I had to jump into the pitch black with shark-infested waters. And I was leading this trip, so it was like on me. We had a bunch of like landlocked, like Middle America guys that like had no idea what sailing was about, and were already super bewildered, and not exactly watermen. And so I had to jump overboard in shark mating territory with a flashlight to first get this rope off, and then to dive down, try to wrestle the anchor out from under this reef it wasn't that deep. It was probably like 20 feet, but and we did both. A couple guys and I did both. But that is sailing, and that is the best actually metaphor for setting goals in life, isn't it? Because that's the kind of shit you deal with along the way when you're heading towards your ultimate destination.
Well, and look now, right? Neither of us are talking about our sailing trips and being like, oh, I went on the sailing trip and it was so smooth with perfect wind the whole way.
Never.
And then it switched directions for the way back. And it was just, every time we threw a line in the water, we caught a fish. And it was just like, so odd. No one's telling that story. If everything goes perfect and smooth, like, you don't fucking talk about anything. Yeah. It's the little road bumps on the way that make it a little more interesting.
It's true. It is funny how I'm the guy that's like, the from Middle America that we had these guys show up, and they'd never been sailing before, and their idea of sailing was that they thought they were going to have their own cabin, and we were going to be drinking champagne like on a nice deck, and everything was going to be chill. And then we get on the boat, and they realize it's a bunch of bunk beds, and we take off, and immediately we hit some bad weather, and the boat's like, there's waves washing over the boat, and one guy got swept overboard, and we had to drag him back on, and we were towing some kayaks behind us, and they snapped in half, and it got wild. Really, the 2 boats got separated. We lost one of the guys because one of the radios stopped working, and we were like out there, and so It's funny how those guys were so naive. But then I find myself, when I hit adversity towards my goals, all of a sudden I'm that guy that is surprised and almost upset that we've hit some rough waters. Like I take it personally.
Great point.
Or like I'm not prepared for that, even though that happens every time you run into that kind of stuff with any goal, some kind of setback, adversity. But I still, even at 40 years old, and I work on myself, I still go, oh, come on, or like, really? Why can't this just be easy? Why can't it just be smooth sailing the whole way?
Yeah. Well, and what I was thinking, Sean, as you're saying that, because it's such a good point, is. So, for example, at running my business summit this last November, a few days in, I had to look at my team and be like, you guys, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, things were ahead of schedule. Nothing's completely imploded. Like, it's going too smooth. Yeah. And I was freaked out about it. And it's just, we've been doing it for years. We're just good at it. And then afterwards, we were talking about it, and there was a new member of our team, and she was She was fried, like a little overwhelmed about things. And hearing her recap it, I was like, this is interesting, because from her perspective, this was just as difficult as the first one we ran. Mm-hmm. We had just as many problems and whatever else. I'm just not affected by them anymore. Like, we had a summit in Mexico, and one of our VIPs showed up and then told us that she's deathly, like, will actually die allergic to cilantro. I'm like, there's no food in Mexico. There's no food in Mexico that doesn't have cilantro. Like, it's not even possible.
You're in a small town too, weren't you?
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to find anything else?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's shitty. We'll cook.
We'll deal with it. Yeah.
We'll deal with it. I don't know. Didn't bother, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. You just learn to expect it, right? But then I think it's the nature of goals, how they, like a retreat, if you do it over, I can relate this because we did retreats, like I was saying before too, and it's like, you learn, okay, there's going to be interpersonal issues. So you can expect that. You learn there's going to be dietary issues. So you learn that some people aren't going to make it, and it's going to be a whole thing for them to get there. And then they're going to be upset by the time they get there, and you have to manage that. Whatever. You can learn all the things it's going to be, and then you can still get surprised, but it's like, but goals aren't like that, right? Because goals are always changing. Every year they're different. The circumstances are different. Maybe that's why it's easier to get bent out of shape emotionally about the setbacks. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we've said this in a previous episode, right? The delta between reality and expectation is where dissatisfaction lies.
Yeah.
So with a goal, especially if it's a new goal, especially if it's a stretch goal, it's like you're setting an expectation. And so those bumps on the way create friction and make you feel like there's a divide. That's why, to that point, it's why it's, I think, powerful to set a goal and have your course charted, know what you're aiming at, but then the action and the day-to-day thing you're doing isn't the goal. Like, you can't, if you hyper-focus only on the goal, then you're always focusing on the gap, on the problem of how you're not somewhere. Even law of attraction would tell you that that's not the most attractive thing to do.
Totally. Yeah, great point. Hold on, Josh. Katie just got home. I gotta close the door. One sec. Some real professional podcasting going on here.
Yeah.
Can I share a few just key points around the goal setting process I use, and then we can move along? That I forgot to mention before?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I want to hear them. I'd be happy to share a couple of mine as well.
Yeah, I'd love to hear yours. Sorry, I just kind of rattled off mine. So what I learned is that no more than two main goals for the year. You're not going to be able to accomplish more than that. They've done all the research on it. Typically, I used to do this. I used to go, I want to get better at guitar, and I want to lose weight, and I want to make more money, and I want to be more present with Katie. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You're only going to be able to plow enough of your focus energy into like one or two things to make change, because change is so hard. So pick wisely, right? Like, I'm not going to learn guitar on there if I need to focus on my physical vitality. So, and maybe you can get away with a third that's a little looser, but it's usually one, maybe two. It's hard though, because you might have a list of like 20 things you want to change. So how do you actually like figure out what that thing is? The best system I've ever been shown from a friend of mine named Todd Herman, who's a business productivity coach guy. He uses cue cards. So you write a goal on each cue card, you write the why, and then you face them off against each other. And it becomes painfully clear when you put like physical health versus guitar. It's like physical health, and then physical health versus relationship, physical health versus income, physical health. It's pretty clear what becomes the hierarchy when you're actually facing them off. And then simple but effective, right? This year I didn't need to do that because it was really clear what I needed to focus on. But when I'm confused about what my one or two might be, or what order, then I do that. Lastly, the Wheel of Life. You can just Google it. You'll see it. Tony Robbins' Wheel of Life. You'll find that on Google somewhere. Yeah, that's it. Love to hear yours, Josh. Oh, sorry.
I really like the face-off thing. I haven't done that like this specific way that you've described, but sort of naturally over the years I've developed we do that in some way. It makes me think of, especially if you're West Coast Canada, you'll have heard of David Suzuki. I was at a conference at University of British Columbia he was speaking at, and someone asked him, because he's like a known environmentalist, etc. Someone said to him, man, the whales and the ocean pollution and air and global warming and ice caps melting and poverty and world hunger and abuse, like they listed off there's all these major problems, genocide, in the world. How do I pick which thing to work on? And I thought his answer was brilliant, and he said, just pick one. Like, just pick the one that you like the most. Just do that, because if you're like, I'm going to help the whales, well, guess what else helps the whales? Like, you're going to help the ocean, or like one thing impacts these other things as well. So on a more personal level, using your example too, like the physical health versus relationships, for example, work on your relationship, but if you like really don't like yourself and you're physically stuck in your body because you hurt all the time or whatever else, like you're going to be shittier at relationships. So it's not to say that that's the right choice, but rather that playing them against each other, when you really follow the inspiration towards the thing that seems to matter to you the most, you end up getting the other things anyways, or at least in part.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah. And anybody who says you should be doing all the things, they just don't understand that fundamental principle. You can only pick one or two things. Focus. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, there's a few kind of superhuman-y dudes out there that I've met throughout the years that, from the outside looking in, appear like they're doing everything. And younger me would have been like, it's just one of those special people. There's a few special people that they can run 4 businesses and be a dad of 4 and do this and go to church and whatever else. And I used to just be like, fuck those guys, they're magical, fuck them. But actually, the few people I've known that have seemed like that, if I really get to know them and we become closer, you realize it's just my perspective of them in that moment. Like, there's always a crack in the armor. There's always something else. This is what it is. And then a really crazy thing that happened to me in the last year, actually, which was a huge ego booster for me, was a younger dude here who's an entrepreneur kind of described me that way. He's like, oh, you got 3 kids and you're running this business that's successful with the team and you get to travel and you live in Mexico and have a house and whatever else. And I was like, yeah, like, that's so awesome. How do you do all this stuff? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
It caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So, anyways, perspective.
Can I comment on that quickly before we roll to the next point? So, the men's group I had, I think it's such a great point, Josh, that nobody talks about. And I got this perspective because the men's group I ran before mensgroup.com was the Brotherhood, and it was a men's group for entrepreneurs. And so at the beginning, we were just a bunch of nobodies, but then some of those guys built up into kind of big name entrepreneurs that did big things, and then they attracted more of those guys. And so, there were a lot of like high achievers in this group. And these supermen unicorns that had the family and had the business and had the health and traveled and all these things. And what I learned from hanging out with so many of them, and I stayed with some of them in their houses. I traveled with some of them. I spent good time, with these guys and got to observe them quite a bit. And what I learned is what you don't see. You say the final result, but you don't see that they did it one thing at a time. Every single one of them. So Ben Greenfield is a good example. He's a buddy of mine. He's a health guru. He's been on Joe Rogan. He's had the #1 health podcast in the world for a while. He's got a beautiful family, 2 kids, cool house out in the hills in Washington, near Spokane. Big biohacking ranch we used to spend time on. And you look at this guy, he's fit, beautiful wife, all this stuff, and it's like, what the fuck, So I asked him that directly one time with the brother guys. I was like, how do you do this? And he said, well, when I was in my teens, I focused on my health. That's all I did was work out, and I figured out the nutrition stuff, and then I put that in the maintenance mode, and then I figured out some work stuff, and then I put that in maintenance mode, and then I found a wife. And so it really was one thing at a time. There are some guys that are higher functioning for sure who can just crush and not sleep as much, and I know guys like that and who they have everything. But there is always fallout somewhere else from that type of behavior. Also, there's a bit of a factor where once you get over a certain level in success, you can just like put money in places. You can hire people to do things, so you have more resources to do more things at once. But still, people who are in that position, they make the mistake of not focusing enough, and it burns them. Projects are half-assed; they don't work out. So I haven't actually met an example of somebody who did everything at one time.
Yeah,
none.
I think it's very true, and what you just made me think of too, Sean, is it's called the Matthew effect. The Matthew effect, and I'm going to totally butcher the original statement, but it's those who have things will continue to have them, and those who don't, even the things they have will be taken away. But basically, it's a describer of winners win and losers lose, and it's not because someone is a winner or loser, but it's because once you're winning, you can win more. That's a cumulative effect. The best example of this is playing a dice game. If I have a hand full of 6 dice and the goal is to roll just one number 6, and you have 1 dice, you have a 1 in 6 chance. I can't remember what it is, but like I'm pretty confident I roll my 6 dice at the same time, I'm going to get a 6. You roll and you're not. You think, oh, Josh has rolled a 6 every time, but I'm rolling 6 dice at a time. You're rolling 1. And then the other detail is when you roll a 6, you get another dice. So my 6 becomes 7 immediately. Your 1 takes 10 rolls before you get 2.
Interesting.
But if you start with 1 and you roll and you get 2, and then you take 2 and you roll and you get a 3rd, at some point you do start to catch up. At some point you have 6 dice in your hand, and every roll you're more confident you're going to roll a 6.
Yeah.
So the one thing at a time is roll 1 dice until you get a 6.
Yeah, focus on one thing, become really good at it, and then get into maintenance mode, and then you can put your focus elsewhere. And that could be any part of life. I see it a lot with entrepreneurship. Those young success stories of guys that are like in their mid-20s and they have multiple companies and stuff, they always hit it big with their first one, maybe by chance and from working hard, and then all these opportunities present themselves because they've hired their way out of their first company and they have time and focus energy now. Don't try to do more than 1 or 2 things. Yeah,
well, to that note, absolutely. To that note too, there's a weird thing right now that not all the public looks at, but if you start looking in the SaaS world and the VC capital world and like tech and how investment works and how money moves and stuff, it's real fuckety. Like it's strange. So it can really look like someone's got, quote, the unicorn company or whatever else. And the 2 things that I've seen multiple times is you're missing the story that they're like, oh, they just came up with this company and then whatever. Well, they actually failed 6 other companies.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And they just somehow legally aren't on the hook for all the lost VC money that funded those things. But they don't tell that story.
No.
Or it's like you said, it's like their first company and it's kind of just a fluke. Like they timed the market with the right product problem solution. And it's not actually a testament to their unique ability. Nope. It's not to take anything away from them, but it really is just, they're a little bit of luck plus access. So example being, I know a couple guys who, they're both in Yale, and then like one of them's got a super loaded dad who funded their like graduation project, which then became their company. And everyone's these other dudes we know are talking about like, oh, they're so successful and this company is so big and stuff. And I'm like, they're not profitable, and now they have VC money involved too. I'm like, the company is only going because people keep throwing money into it because of who they are and the fact that they can access that funding. So maybe one day it'll like really go, but from the outside it looks like, you built this big company and it's quote worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm like, you're not fucking making any money.
Yeah.
Like you're not cash flow positive.
No.
It's not bootstrapped,
No.
Anyways, there's a lot of false narratives from the outside looking in, I guess.
Yeah, and the biggest one I see in men's group is the guys that look like they have it all together and are able to do multiple things at once. Other things are suffering, like their relationship. They often end up divorcing, those kinds of things. Focus on one thing at a time, maybe two. That's it.
Yeah. I like the focus on two. I've always said three because I like the number three, but realistically, it's two. It's like
two, and then third one, it's like, I'm not going to put a lot of energy to this, but it's on the list. Yeah. That's what I do. So I have 3 this year. Actually, I have 4. The last 2 are kind of going to happen if I take care of the first 2, though, you know?
Yeah. So what my process for any of this would be, we've sort of adopted something in the realm of the EOS system, plus blended in our own flavor and some yoga philosophy and other things. But it's like you've got to have a highly specific target that's far enough in the future that the target seems like it would be difficult to hit. Like, it's got to be kind of big. It has to make you just a little uncomfortable. If the target's like, I'd really like to make 10 grand a month, like, too small. You can't. It's got to be something that's a little scary. But it does have to be, well, because if I asked you right now, in the next 1 year, Sean, you have to add 50% more to your business, 50% more revenue. What would you do? Like, would you take major risk, or would you just be like, I'm just going to turn up the dial on these things, or keep my focus, or work harder, etc.? Well, or would you be like, I better add an entirely new branch to the business?
Yeah, I'd play small, but also I think after doing this so many years, I would say that the effort putting in to grow it 50% is the same amount of effort and time and energy I'm going to have to put into growing it 200% in a different way.
That's my point. That's exactly it. It's like it's the 10x question. Why a big target and why specific? Because if you ask a bigger question, then you come up with a bigger answer. If instead we reiterate the same question and say, okay, take the year out of it, how do you 10 times or 100 times your business? What would have to happen based on what you know? You start looking at real different things. You're like, well, shit, I would have to offer this, and we would have to have a team like that, and it's much more expansive.
Yeah. And you're going to be putting that time and energy in anyway. It's going to be roughly the same.
Yeah.
I've heard people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates say that like, you know, the big goals take just as much work as the small goals, so you might as well swing big.
Might as well swing big. Yeah. The other thing is a little bit of a tangent that we talked about in a few episodes too. It's like the outcome's none of your business. Like, you have to know the target and aim big. Whether you achieve it or not specifically is less important than the fact that you're aiming at it. What? Because there's other factors involved in if you can accomplish X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But anyways, large target and then specific, because you have to know exactly what you're aiming at. Like, very, very well articulated. The story of, my son's name is Arjuna, as in Arjun, the archer in the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the stories in Mahabharat, Indian philosophy, is of the 5 Pandavas, these brothers. And the guru is teaching them a lesson. They're all archers. They're aiming at a bird in a tree. And he asks each one of them to draw their bow. And then he asks them questions. What do you see? And so the one brother says, I see the tree, and I see the bird and the tree, and so on and so forth. But Arjun says, I see the pupil of the eye of the bird sitting on the second branch, on the big branch in the tree. And he goes, okay, shoot. And he's allowed to shoot the arrow because it's that specific. He's aiming at the pupil of the left eye or whatever, right? So with the big target, you still need the specificity, so you know exactly what you're aiming at. So anyways, this is all a little rambly. Bigger target
I'm finding it useful.
in the future. Then
specific.
If you're aiming at that thing, what would the plan be in the next 1 year? So then you bring it back down to reality. Like, okay, if in 5 years I'm going to be here, what would need to be in place in 1 year from now? And as per like the EOS model, we write it as a plan as opposed to a goal in this case. Because a goal is something that I may or may not achieve. A plan is we're going to do this thing.
Yeah.
So that's the 1 year. Then we break that down into, that's where I actually set goals. Like, okay, what are the 3 things? What are the 3 goals that if we accomplish them, we would be doing the plan?
Great.
And then the final layer is, what are the habits? We've sort of alluded to this in our conversation. So yeah, you got to come up with strategy and tactics for how you achieve your goal. I think you should write your goal as from X to Y, like make it quantitative. But then what you're actually measuring in real time are the inputs instead of the outputs. So hence the, like you wrote out, like if I did this every day, like this is my ideal day. If I behaved this way and did this every day times all these days together, I would achieve my goal of being in shape or whatever. That's the same thing. It's like you break the goal down to what is the behavior or habit that I would have. That's that future projecting part. If this goal is accomplished already, what is it? And then the final detail here would be, then immediately that's what you measure. Like at that point, and it's hard because wouldn't say that I'm even that good at this yet. You stop measuring progress towards the goal. I just measure, did or didn't I do the inputs I said I was going to do?
Interesting. You focus on the inputs.
If I said I was going to create 10 pieces of content this week, I either did or didn't do that. If I focus on, I should produce 10 pieces of content this week so that I get this many views and this many leads in my business, and then I don't accomplish that, maybe it was just a down week. Like there's other people involved in that outcome. So like, is it really my fault? Did I do the 10 pieces of content or not? Are the content pieces good? Like it's too hard to know what's happening. But if I said I'm making 10 pieces of content because I said so, I either did or didn't do that.
It makes it easier to keep yourself in line with that.
Right.
Huh. Interesting. 2 things struck me from your process. First one is, it sounds like you almost use the SMART framework for goals, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's funny because I always resist like acronyms or like frameworks like that, but I found that to be true. Like that you want your goals to follow those things, and it sounds like you do that. I don't know how many of the letters you hit. I think you mentioned like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah.
It's funny because I've done a lot of study on this on the business side of things and on the boutique fitness side of things, because that's where I've coached for most of my career. So it's pretty well documented when we talk about fitness, especially SMART goals do not work from a motivation standpoint. Right. So SMART goals they're smart to do, pun intended. It's not to say that there's no value in them, but they lack, it's why measuring the input matters. They lack the ongoing motivation, because motivation comes from an emotional place. So you have to celebrate wins, but then, it's like, oh, you're this percentage towards your goal. Like that doesn't feel like winning because you're still highlighting how you haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
So
makes sense.
There's like elements of it that we have in there for sure. Yeah. I think the time-bound piece is important just to put, because again, if there's always this question where this happens with businesses we coach often. Someone will write down a goal. They'll say, okay, I want to, an example would be, I want to hire a front desk manager for my fitness studio who's going to manage the front end of house and be in charge of the sales. And then they're like, that's my Q1 goal. I'm like, okay, cool. Why can't we do that right now? And by right now, I mean like literally right this second. I have a template and we can use AI. We can put a job ad together and you can post it right fucking now and be interviewing by next week.
Yeah.
So is that really the goal? To which we find out, no, it's not. That's the strategy. The goal is I need to create 20 more hours of time for myself by not managing the front end of house. Therefore, I need to hire this person in there. The time-bound piece comes in as a tester in 2 ways. Like one, if I can just do it right now, then why am I spreading it out over a quarter?
Yeah.
So it lets you kind of test your goals. And then the other detail is from an enthusiasm or an effort standpoint. So the other example here would be, okay, I need to get 100 more people in my business, and I've got an ad funnel that I know for sure I can acquire a person for $100.
Mm-hmm.
If you set the goal as get those 100 people over the next year, 100 times 100 is $10,000 of budget. So now you're saying, okay, you're going to spend $800 a month in client acquisition. Do you have 10 grand sitting in the bank? Yes. Well, why don't you just spend it right now? Like if you said, I'm going to do this in the next 2 months, you would spend all the effort and money. It's kind of a silly example, but you do it right now and you would get there faster. So it intensifies your effort is the point.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so no SMART goals.
Yeah, maybe. The other comment that's somewhere in here is, and I can't remember where this originated, but when you set a goal, there's the realization that it's okay to move the goalposts, but not change the goal. And that's been really helpful for me. Even personally, if I'm like, cool, I want to lose 10 pounds or whatever. I want to be able to lift this much weight.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a different example. Well, if I say I want to do that by April 1st, and then that hasn't happened, have I progressed towards it though? Like at that point, I don't need to feel like, oh, I failed because I didn't get there, so I should just give up. It's like, no, I just need more time. Or if I haven't progressed, then it's the wrong strategy. So as opposed to what I see happen in business a lot, but I think in personal life even more, someone sets a goal and then they fail at achieving the goal and then they give up completely. They're like, oh, well, that was a dumb goal. I quit. I didn't do it.
It's true. Yeah, good observation. So what does it actually look like? Like quarterly when you're reviewing, you're like, okay, we're not on track to hit our 1 year goal. So let's adjust that. Let's maybe change that metric. So I might not lose 20 pounds this year, but let's change it to 15. That'd still be a win. That'd still be progress.
Yeah, the way we do it, speaking from a more business sense, but I suppose it could be applied to anything, is there's only 3 possibilities, right? So if you're off track to achieve a goal in the time frame you've set, it's either you just need more time so you can move the goalposts, or you're not making progress and therefore your strategy is wrong. You're actually, so you're not going to change the goal. I'm not going to make the goal easier. I'm not going to change the timeline, but I'm going to do a different effort to accomplish it. What I'm doing isn't working. And it's getting kind of super real about that.
Which often happens, sometimes the strategy doesn't work. You got to change the strategy, but still work towards that goal. Yeah,
right. And the lesson there being there's no such thing as failure.
Yeah.
There's winning or learning. That's it. So it's why setting a goal is helpful, because you get to learn something at minimum. So you can move the goalposts. You cannot rewrite the goal, or you can change the strategy because you're not accomplishing it. Or the third possibility, which is rare, is the goal no longer matters. And it's happened to me more times than I would have anticipated in the past.
Me too.
We're like, we get there and I'm like, this just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, not important because something else changed.
Delete. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an example?
Yeah, I think, especially in business, I remember one time writing a goal is we want to increase the number of leads in our business from X to Y, from 100 to 150 average per month or something like that. And we had just written the goal wrong. And it didn't really matter because we achieved all the other things we wanted, the revenue, how many clients we had, et cetera, margin, without that happening. So that wasn't, and because we had written it that way, to continue to focus on that was actually taking effort away from other things that mattered more. So technically we didn't achieve that goal, but it became irrelevant.
Right. That's really interesting. Yeah. I've experienced that as well. Yeah. Very cool. Can I ask you a question that I've wanted to bounce off you for a while?
Heck yeah.
So like James Clear stuff with Atomic Habits. James was a guy who I knew fairly well before. He was in that entrepreneur group that I spoke about earlier, and his whole philosophy around Atomic Habits is small changes stacked up over time end up in big changes. So if you make a 1% habit shift, change your day or how you eat by 1% every day over a year, that's something crazy like 300% or something.
Yeah.
And so how does that play into this idea of consistency towards your goals?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. The other thing, I think it's from Atomic Habits that you're making me think of is habit stacking. I want to come back to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the measuring inputs over outputs. And that's a more recent thing. It's only the last 3 or 4 years that I've really looked at that. But to me, that's the most empowering, practical thing that I've learned in goal setting. Because to your exact point, if I'm only ever looking at have I accomplished the end result, I'm always going to have not done it until I've done it. But if I'm looking at to accomplish it, I have to do this daily habit, this 1% change. I got to do it today and then the next day. Extreme example, this is the core message of all recovery from addiction. 12-step, that's the common saying all the time. One day at a time. And I've even heard a sponsor say this, and I thought it was brilliant. It's probably in the big book of AA as well. But you have the urge to go have a drink. Cool. Just not today. It's like if you are focused on, I'm never going to drink again. I can't drink anymore. I don't drink. I'll never, ever have a drink again in my life. It's too big.
Yeah,
and then you fail. You give up. If you're cool, whatever. But just not right now.
Yeah.
Just not today. Just one more day sober, right? Or I need to get in shape. Oh, I don't see my abs yet, whatever. Cool. But I'm just going to work out today. And then tomorrow, I'm just going to do it tomorrow. And the next day, I'm just one little step.
Yeah. So
one day, one step at a time.
Big lofty goal, but then small one-step actions. Yeah, every day.
And that's what stacks up in what you're talking about in the Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Hence the behavior thing too. If I want to accomplish this thing in my business, going back to the analogy I already used, and my strategy is I got to create content for people to see, and then I want content at volume. I need to create 5 pieces of content this week. Did I create 5 pieces of content? Not is the content good, not did the content get me leads, whatever. But if I create 5 pieces of content every week for this whole year, I'll have created a fuck ton of content and I'll have learned a bunch of shit on the way.
Yep.
It'll naturally get better because I'll get pissed off if it's not getting seen or whatever. All the other things that I'm worried about are going to just happen through taking the action with consistency.
Yep. Content's a great example. That's such a consistency game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Creating content, out there.
And it's a hard game.
Yeah.
to build that consistency. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is the thing that Alex Hormozy rambles about is really presses home is that anything worth doing is hard too. Right. And so if hard always requires consistency, there's no other way around that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in a previous episode we mentioned this. I think to succeed at anything, the 4 tenets of success are in a specific order. So it's consistency, frequency, accuracy, intensity, and it has to go in that order.
Oh, interesting.
You can't be consistency, frequency, accuracy, intensity. Let me reword it. I'll explain why it's in the order, and then let's reword it. Because I can't be intense at something until I'm accurate at it. I can't be accurate until I've done it a whole bunch of times. Frequent. I can't be frequent until I'm consistent.
Right.
When someone first starts a yoga practice, if we say you got to practice twice a day, and also do the postures perfectly, and also try really hard on the postures. That's not possible. It's physically not possible for somebody. So the first step is just fucking show up. Can you show up once a week? Do that. Yeah. Show up once every week. Okay, you've got that down. What's the next step? Great. Now let's increase the frequency. Show up twice a week. Once you're showing up 2, 3, 4 times a week, you got consistency and frequency, and that's not breaking. Now accuracy. Now let's start to refine the specificity of how you do your practice by paying attention to your breath and how you align your body in the posture, and et cetera, et cetera. And now you're ready to learn that because you're doing it enough to even fucking hear it, basically. And then once you have good alignment, that means you won't put negative impact on your body. Now you can be intense. You can actually push in the yoga posture.
Love it. Makes sense.
Business or fucking whatever else, same thing.
Love that. Yeah, and if I'm being honest, like the goals that I haven't hit or times I struggle in my life, it's because I struggle with consistency. And I've seen that in other people as well, that consistency is the most important thing towards hitting goals, habit change, all of that.
Yeah. For me personally, that's I think it's the only thing that stops me from achieving, not the only thing, but the only internal thing for me.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single thing that I've ever been consistent and done at high frequency and learned about so I can be accurate and really tried hard at and then failed. I can't think of a single thing.
No.
I might not have got the outcome I originally thought I was going to get.
Yeah.
It might look different, but it definitely didn't fail.
In my earlier entrepreneurial career, I charged at a business that had a broken model from the beginning. It was an online music store for DJs, and it was like the right time, the right place, everything. I had contacts in the industry, and I charged at it, and I did all those things, but it still failed. But that's because the thing itself, I chose the wrong project to run at, chose the wrong goal. So there is some level of you need to stay grounded throughout the process as well, or have the right goals. Be grounded in your goals. Is this actually achievable?
Sure, but the outcome, this is the non-attachment theory of the whole thing, where it's like, okay, you didn't actually get the outcome that you were hoping for, but this is like a defining thing in your life and in your entrepreneurial journey. It's what's made you be able to be here now running Men's Group as powerfully as you are, and to be like a legit authority.
It's true. That didn't feel like that in the moment, but it's true now. Now I'm very proud of that. Yeah, it makes sense. Any other thoughts on goal setting?
Habit stacking. You made me think of that.
Stacking.
I think that comes out of Atomic Habits. I can't really
I think so too.
remember for sure, but it's the idea of what's something else you already habitually do. So you already brush your teeth in the morning, you already make your coffee, the new habit you're trying to do, can you associate it with that thing? So if you're in the habit of, I make coffee and then I pick up my phone, it's like, is that the moment that you can film the piece of content? Is that the moment that you can take the medication you're supposed to take? Is that the moment that you can phone your brother that you said you're going to phone every day? I don't know, whatever it is. Read a chapter from a book. I make coffee every morning. And rather sitting here and scrolling on fucking TikTok, I want to read a chapter of a book every day. Yeah. Coffee, book. Attach those things. For me, the easiest example is if I want to take a supplement or something. I have been reading a lot about creatine. There's all this hype on it again, just because it's so well studied now. I'm like, cool. So I'm gonna try taking some creatine. I never fucking would take it. Then I just put the jar of creatine literally beside my coffee maker, and I put it in my coffee in the morning. Oh, perfect. And now I take creatine every morning. Easy. Great. Yeah. If it's not there, our cleaning lady put it away, then I didn't take it for a week.
That's great. Yeah, that makes it so much easier because habit change is hard. Our brains are wired to avoid it, It takes so much energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that new calibration, the homeostasis of the new habit takes a minute.
It does. It really does, yeah.
Well, here's a note on that.
Yeah.
Let's get a little out there.
Good. I like out there.
So you may have heard of doing a 21-day challenge. That's like a common time frame of challenges.
Yes.
30 days as well, but that sprouts off of the 21 days. And 75 hard is actually related to this as well. But the question is why? Why 21 days? So depending on who you ask, on average in the human body, in 21 days, you have enough heartbeat and enough circulation of your blood through your system that all of the blood through your whole system has gone completely through your system, like with nothing left over, at least 3 times. The iron in your blood is the energetic thing that you can charge. So when you're creating a new habit, if you can make that habit happen for 21 days, for 3 weeks, you've literally charged your body to that new habit. And it's why past that point it's easier to stick it out.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard that theory before.
It's a little fucking wonky, but and then
whatever.
Yeah, then the 75 hard, 75 isn't specifically the number, but then if you want to make sure something is completely solidified, you do it at least 3 times.
Yes.
So 21 times 3, that's, if you do a 75 hard, for example, as being the popular challenge right now, that's 3 times.
Yeah, love that. And whether you believe it's blood or not, like I've heard another theory, which is it's a nerve thing. It's like nerves grow very slowly, neuroplasticity, your brain's able to reshape itself. It just takes quite a bit of time. And because there's so much, because it's so easy for your brain to follow that old neural pathway, that was the old habit, that old way of doing things. Like you just have to hit it over and over and over again for it to grow and grow and grow. So I've heard, and I just Googled stats for 66 days to be exact for that new behavior to become automatic. I've heard 90 days to really get it, but I've also heard 21 is like the starting point where it starts to feel a lot easier. So I think this is why a lot of people try to stick to habits for 90 days. And whether it is the blood or whether it is the brain, it doesn't really matter. And whatever you believe, as long as it serves you, right?
You just be your aura, the charge of your aura, whatever, your chakral system, call it whatever you want. But
whatever.
I think I think there is a lot of value in somewhere in that 60 to 90 day time frame. That's been my personal experience. 90 is probably a little long, actually. It's like the actual automatic habit for me, for a lot of things, is formed faster than that. And by the end of 90, the little icing on the cake is it then becomes you. It's it's not even a habit anymore. It's a behavior of who you are.
That's really interesting, because there's actually this thing called the 2190 rule that I just came across on Google. And it states that it takes 21 days to make a new habit, but it takes 90 days to make it a permanent lifestyle change.
There you go.
So there you go. Nailed it. So for whatever reason that is, it's been researched, and that is what it is. So again, that speaks to consistency, chipping away at things, sticking with it one more day. Yeah.
Well, then I think of, and I don't even know if this is true, but lots of people have heard of, your physical body is actually new after 7 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the cells.
You've actually replaced all the cells.
Regenerated.
So it's to me, these things can seem overwhelming, but if you break it down into the small, just did I do this today? Yes or no? I don't know. Especially as I get older, time goes faster. So I feel positive about it, that it's 7 years is a long time. But at the same time, it's in 7 years from now, I can literally be a completely new me. In the most extreme ways, if I just really devote to just today, do this one thing,
Yeah. Same. I find it encouraging that you can, and even with something like healthy eating, it's like if your body's struggling for energy and you got all these health issues, it's if you just start healthy habits now, within 3.5 years, half your cells will be different,
Yeah.
And that'll impact your genes and how they're expressed, and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's in these little steps that make a big difference. If you guys have any questions about goal setting, post them in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Anything you want to direct folks to, Josh?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious what technique has worked for you. What's a specific thing that helps you with goal setting or achieving a goal. You know, here's what I would add as a thought is I know that humans are more motivated to run away from negativity than towards positivity. So I've recently leaned into that. I'm setting my goals, and then I'm not just writing down like what I want. I'm also writing down what I don't want. I'm also looking at like, what am I pissed off about?
Yeah, makes sense.
Instead of being in shape, I want to be not fat. Like, I don't mean to be, you know, I say that in a comical, self-deprecating way, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That makes a lot of sense.
What can I get pissed off about?
Yeah. Find things to get pissed off about. Yeah, any other ideas or suggestions or things that work for anybody listening, we'd love to hear them in the comments. And yeah, if anybody wants to talk more about goals or other guy stuff, personal issues, challenges, we have a great community of guys talking about that stuff over at mensgroup.com. Cool. Thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Peace.